Shalom from Hadassah House. Everyone over 50 likely remembers where they were when they heard the news or watched on television as Neil Armstrong took his first step on the moon. Everyone over 15 remembers where they were when they first learned of or saw the terrible images of the 9/11 attacks. Such moments of celebration or tragedy are a part of history. But each of us has indelible memories of personal events and experiences that changed our lives. I've made many trips to Israel, for example, but there is one that stands out as a defining moment of my life. It was in 1991, during the first Gulf War, and missiles were already falling on Israel when the Hadassah mission lifted off at Kennedy Airport. The mission was planned before the first Iraqi attack, and people I had spoken to about my plans, including some of my family, were divided into two camps. Those who thought Hadassah would cancel the mission if war actually started, and those who thought it was too risky to go in any case, and that we would only get in the way. But of course, we went. 20 years later, I remember every detail of that mission, but one seemingly insignificant moment sticks out in my memory. Like any trip to Israel, there came the moment when I called friends there. Those were the days when you still needed an operator to make a call if you weren't familiar with Israel's city codes. As always, my total lack of Hebrew made this a tense experience. With friendly operators in rare supply, even in good times, what would I encounter at a time when the entire nation was stressed? This time was different. As soon as the Israeli operator heard my American voice, she said, "Thank you. Thank you so much for coming." I was so touched that I cried. We heard much the same message from Prime Minister Yitzhak Shamir. He didn't think we were in the way. In fact, he came to meet with us in person, as did many other top officials. I knew from that trip that above and beyond Hadassah's projects, I had a role as an American Jew in the Israeli story, and it wasn't just as a potential immigrant. I learned from ordinary Israelis and the nation's leaders that our role in providing emotional support was as important to them as the institutions we build. I've told my Gulf War story many times and often noted how it changed my life and even the Zionist dynamics of my family. Now I'm taking a new opportunity to tell it in greater detail in a wonderful project called Thin Threads: Real Stories of Hadassah Life-Changing Moments. Scheduled for publication next spring, Thin Threads will include more than 100 inspirational stories as experienced by, well, you and me. I'm sure many of you have stories to tell about experiences you've had in Hadassah that have become defining moments in your own lives. Now is your chance to tell them and be part of Hadassah's Centennial Celebration commemorative book. Each story has to be a moment or event you personally experienced. It can be a setback, a crossroads, or an encounter that connected you to a person or place and that ultimately changed your life for the better. In addition to providing the satisfaction of telling your story and letting it touch others, Thin Threads is also a competition that could win you a free ticket to Israel for our Centennial Convention next year, engage members of your chapter, and attract new members. For more details on how to get your personal story into Thin Threads, use the contact information on your screen. But act quickly. The deadline for story submissions is November 30th. As the name of the project suggests, each of us is like a thread. But when our efforts intertwine, we have incredible strength. One of the most effective ways to further increase our strength is to tell not just the Hadassah story, but our own stories as well. My Gulf War story is an important part of who I am. I'm looking forward to reading the stories that have made each of you into the Hadassah women that you are. Shalom.